Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to look at a patchwork harvest skirt I made. I haven't made one of these before, although I've always wanted to try it. In this post, I'll share some of the inspiration for it, along with much of the construction method. This was the first draft of the idea that I had, and then I really broke out my pencil crayons and started getting into it. Drew a fantastic picture, which was basically just an idea sketch of how it could work, because I really want this harvest skirt to be fun. And then I looked up some specs of how they could go together. As you can see here, I have all of the number listings, and I have a whole bunch of notes to myself about how to proceed. And my sketchbook pages when I'm working on a project often end up looking like this, and it's okay. I can read it. I know what I'm doing. I really love the way it looks when I'm done. And we'll just carry forward. I had an orange, black, and butter yellow palette in mind. I picked out some pumpkin and crow fabric from the stash and brought a little more of the crow fabric because I thought I needed a lot more, along with some black on black print. I did have to look for similar fabrics in my fabric storage later on. I had no real idea of how many squares I would need, and thankfully I had a lot of things within the palette that would certainly work. We'll circle back to that. I'm making 10-inch squares in 4 gathered tiers. The top tier will have 6, and then 12, and then 24, and then 48. This is to a total of 90 squares that will all get put together. I can't wait, and let's go. So I've got all of the pieces cut out, all 90 of them. That was quite an adventure. I spent most of last evening and this morning cutting out pieces. It's a lot. And now I am going to slowly piece them together, and we'll see how it goes. This is my first time making a patchwork skirt like this. In these clips, I'm piecing together the top 2 tiers. The seams are in a long row. I sewed these quick seams one by one and then ironed the whole tier in one go. This is a great way to save time and effort. I'm here in front of my sewing machine, and it's the evening. Look, you can see the mountains out the window. So nice. Anyhow, I've got the top tier here pinned to the second tier. I have it all pleated. 2 patches to 1 patch. I know I could use gathering, but I find it really uneven and hard to control sometimes. I just don't like it as much as I like pleating everything. So I've pleated it, and now I am going to go ahead and sew the first seam. So making the skirt was quite the adventure. It was at this point in the project that I realized I'd maybe bitten off more than I could chew. I'd always wanted one of these skirts, so I really wanted to make one, and I didn't really think about how long each tiered seam was going to be. I knew that the bottom seam was going to be a long, long way. That final hem edge, oh my gosh, it took so long. I kept thinking, where is it? Is it anywhere? But I knew it was going to feel like I was sewing for miles and miles, and I made sure I had some full, ready to go bobbins with the correct thread on it, because it was a long way and it did take so much bottom bobbin thread. If you sew, you know what I'm talking about. And I assume most of my audience is made up of people that already know textiles. So my channel is aimed at other creatives, like, hey, watch me make a thing. And I like that. So at this point, I realized it was going to take not just tomorrow, but several more days. And it did. It took 4 more days working each day after work to get this done. And I worked on this until like 10:30 at night each night because I just really wanted something amazing and fun to wear to this function. So, on with the next part of the story. Due to the extra panel for my waist that I needed, I have had to construct a whole bunch of extra panels. So it's 30 more panels. So I went down to the store and just finished pre-washing some black on black fabric. I also have some more orange black crows, so I'll show myself ironing them as well. So I'm giving that a nice spray down. My iron is hot. I don't have it on steam. I just have it on hot iron. Not too hot, just for this style of fabric. I hope you guys can see the print and how luscious it is. Look at that. And spritzing the fabric really, really lightly just helps the iron with just plain heat steam press out the fabric without having to be full of water. I want to show you the way that this method can really press out this kind of iron fold. I've sprayed it. You can probably see the moisture on there. I've got my hot iron and I'm going to move in slow and steady with just minimal pressure straight across. It is sexy. I love that the iron does this. Here we go, one more time for my black on black print loving audience. This is one of my favorite moments in doing any kind of textile art or sewing, is the press out. See that? And you want to be nice and gentle, nice and slow. Just take your time, as you want that hot wet reaction on a mostly dry surface to just press out everything effortlessly. Okay, I've got the crows out. We're gonna do the press up of this one. A little spritz on it. I sometimes give the whole thing a spray and down where you can't see, where the fabric's just hanging off the edge. Look at that. And you can see the difference. You can pause when you're doing this, but don't don't let your iron sit too long on any one spot. It's unlikely that you're going to leave your iron for enough time to actually make a burn mark, but it could happen depending on the fabric. And some irons don't work at all. I had this like really hot small flat steam iron from a company who shall remain nameless, and it was more like a soldering iron with finish. Anyway, I was trying to make this bra and steam press this very small part of the project, and it melted right through the fabric. I ended up ruining the whole project. Fortunately, it was just for me, but I was really, really upset. And it's a bit more difficult to make a bra cup holder that's gonna work when you're a little bit larger in the cup size. If you know what I mean. If you know, you know. See, now isn't that satisfying, this whole process? I think this fabric is just so peachy. I almost wish I wasn't using it for this, but I need it for this for it to work. And there's more at the store at the moment, but that might change. So I'm hoping that in October I expect to be a little bit more solvent and I can go get more of this. My whole thing all the way along, especially this whole year, needs to have a focus on using what's in the studio. A lot of this stuff was already in the studio. I just didn't have the amount that I thought I had when I started the project. And it needed a lot more than I did. Like if the upper part had fit me, I would have had enough fabric already. It kind of bums me out. But that is the deal. Because if I need more fabric, I'm going to spend more money on it, right? But I'm hoping. Yeah, this is the kind of skirt that, unless I have a whole pile of scraps for something in the future, no. There's way too many panels in this. Like, I would have to charge so much money for one of these. I don't think anyone would buy them. So I'll just make them for me and flumps around town in them and know that it's highly unlikely I'm going to find anybody else wearing anything quite like it. All right. Well, on to the next part of the project. So it took quite a bit of time to cut out 30 more squares, mostly because I still didn't have enough variety. I needed more happy light colors and colors that I just didn't have in the right amount. So I ended up piecing some smaller squares into larger squares after looking in my stash for other fabrics that would suit the color palette. Of some types of fabrics, there might only be 1 or 2 squares, and of others, there's like 6 to 8. I had such a hard time filling the bill. It was amazing. I for sure thought, oh yeah, I'm good to go with these colors, but harvest colors aren't generally what I use. If it was blue or green or purple, or, with some, blue or green or purple, I think I could have made 2 skirts maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. I could just be full of it. I don't know. But putting this one together, getting enough colors that were in the right hue family to sort of work with each other was harder than I expected. So next time, I would have had enough fabric. I did have enough fabric for 90, but not for 130. But I made it work, and I'm really happy with how it's turning out. In these clips, you can see it's early morning, and I have the 4th tier pinned on. Look at all those pins. This was crazy. It was such a long way to go. So long. I couldn't believe it. But I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and getting into the project. It's a satisfying one. Ironing the final pleats and the final tier and the whole of the skirt proved to be very challenging and fairly meticulous, because the thing is that I wanted to iron the pleats and I wanted to iron the seams, but I didn't want to iron any wrinkles into the skirt in undesirable places. So it proved to be a bit of a trick for sure. I think if I was going to do this again, I would have used my dressmaker's hem if I had thought of it at the time and realized that that would have given me a lot more play, and so that the parts of the seam I was trying to iron would be the only things the iron was touching, and not the other parts of the fabric that I was desperately trying to not iron, because those parts wouldn't be in contact with the iron surface if it's on a curved surface. And I'm just realizing this now. So I'm going to put that one in my back pocket and use it next time for sure. So I had been using a one-size-fits-all mentality when it comes to the length of the skirt. I didn't really do the math. I just thought the skirt would fit because it's supposed to be like, well, this is a long skirt. It might be a longer skirt on some people, but it's generally going to fit everybody. The thing is, I have a 26-inch inseam, which means I'm shorter from the hip to the ground than many other women, even women my height. So I miscalculated and I ended up cutting 5 inches off the hem, which luckily gave me actually a 2.5 inch ruffle when I was done. And I really love the ruffle. It's so cute. And I have a really long strip of this fabric for later. I think I might make a vest and use some of this leftover patchwork as an accent in that vest. That's the plan anyway. I am still drafting up stuff, so we'll see how it goes. The pumpkin festival is coming right up, so if I'm gonna do it, I need to get on it. And if not, you know what? I have some other clothes I can wear with the skirt just fine. Anyway, I'll keep you posted on that front. Let's go to the next clip.
Hello to all my magical friends out here, sewing up a storm in their houses, getting ready for winter. Oh, I love this time of year so much. So last night I was working on this skirt. I was almost done. I'm scroll stitching the edge. I don't know if you can see that, but I had a little tangle problem in here in the feed dogs. And I had to clean out the feed dog assembly this morning, and it was gross, let me tell you. There was so much stuff in there. So now I just need to put the foot back on and rethread the needles, pop the thread in. I'm using butter yellow on the bottom and orange on the top for the scroll edge. And it is looking fantastic. Look at that. So nice. It's a long way to sew though, so let's get to it.
Although once mastered, the scroll stitch isn't difficult, it can be a little bit of a trick to get started, particularly if you're coming in after the thread has broken or become snarled. I did have a lot of good luck restarting this one, mostly because I had so much hem on the back end that I could go a 1/2 inch back and it lead into where the scroll stitch was going to begin with far more ease than if it's just 1/2 inch from an edge. It's so hard to start a scroll stitch. Usually on one end it looks a bit gimbaled, but I am getting better each time, and this one was a long one. I'm so happy with the way the scroll edge turned out. It looks really good. All right, so I've sewn the waistband to the top layer right there and ironed it, and now all of this I had ironed to the point where I wanted it, marked there, and just left it. I didn't iron this side because it's easier to sew it all together if it's flat. And now, with that ironed side, I am going to take it, and because it's pre-ironed, it just falls into place, and then pin it on this side because I'm going to secure it by stitching in the ditch, so it's very tidy on the upper side. So right now, oops, don't do that. Don't forget this side. What I'm going to do, I think, is switch to time lapse, or maybe I will just tell a story. So I wanted to make this skirt to go to Pumpkin Fest at Linden Lane Farms. I don't know if I've mentioned that on a previous take early in the construction or not. I'm gonna go check though. I haven't ever been to the Pumpkin Fest, but I've always wanted to go, and what happens is I get busy in my life and I completely forget about it and I don't sort of save the date. So this time I'm going to save the date, and it's on my mind a lot because I'm making this skirt to go to it. and it's already, like, it's turning out so well. I'm so very happy with it. It's very heavy though. I can see why lighter and more drapable fabrics are used for this. But on the other hand, it's going to be nice and warm no matter how chilly the weather is. And I will have a great coat to wear with it. Like, I'm gonna wear my black sweater. It's one of my favorite sweaters actually, because it's so soft and it's very long and fun. I just love wearing it. I love wearing it so much. It reminds me of the 90s and some of the crew I used to hang out with. And I do kind of miss that crew a lot. But it comes and goes. I don't just sit around missing them. All right. So the big gaping waist maw is done. It's all pinned on. And so I'm going to get ready to sew it, which means I need to turn this whole mass inside out. And it does hurt a little bit because my hands are getting caught on the pins. Now, normally on a sewing machine, you could just sew around the sleeve, but my machine does not have one. So I need to sew everything from the reverse side. So now that it's reversed, we can get cracking. Stitch in the ditch is always a little bit nerve-wracking because you don't really know how it's going on the other side, and you have to be slow and careful and look at it often and swoop your fingers under there and make sure you're not catching any part of the skirt, especially when something is as big as this. There's a big pile of fabric off to my left. It's insanely huge, and I had to keep rotating the entire thing as I went. It was pretty nerve-wracking trying to get it all in here. In any case, I did a good job, and yeah, it turned out really, really, really well. And now I will show putting in the waistband. Putting in the waistband was tricky because I'm using an interfacing that was slightly too heavy. In future, I would use more of a featherweight for this. It's nice to have the interfacing because then the edges are always crisp. The trouble is that it makes bunching in an elastic band really, really quite tricky. To make sure that the elastic band isn't going to slip out either end, I have one end safety pinned to the outside of the skirt actually, just to make sure that it's going to work and I'm not going to pull the whole thing in there. This particular waistband, like I said, was really, really challenging, and I had to really work to get it in here. But once I have it together, it's pretty darn cute. All right, it's finished, and here it is. Look at that. Oh, I love it so much. I cannot wait to go to the pumpkin fest in this. And I'm also going to be flouncing around town in it because it's just the best. All right, let me know what you thought of my video. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!